Six, Your Political Right to Know. I'm your host, Edward J. Davis. We are never short of entertaining news with our current president. And so I want to just really jump right into some of the highlights from last night's presidential debate. Well, I want to first start by saying this is going to be an awesome show. I have a really, really powerful guest in the house tonight. And I just want you to stay tuned and get your mind ready to receive some important information. And there's no better time than now for us to be mindful of how we need to be moving in 2020 and going forward. There's been a momentum created by this Black Lives Matter phenomena that took off actually with the unfortunate and untimely death of Trayvon Martin. That's actually what sparked the whole hashtag Black Lives Matter that then sparked this great movement. It's unfortunate that so many lives have to be lost for us to finally get here to where what was once a black collective consciousness has now become a global collective consciousness. And there are many roles to play and many parts to play and many organizations that, to join. The reality is, again, at the end of the day, we just want you to be doing something. I keep emphasizing, like Sister Ada always says, nobody can do everything, but if everybody did something, everything would get done. Back in the 60s, they had, SNCC, they had many Christian organizations. They had the Black Panther Party, they had the Nation of Islam, they had Garveyites, they had Moorish Science Templars, they had, brothers that were just on cultural movements, the MOVE movement, etc. All of these various dynamics that were taking place, really all for the same cause, which is black liberation. I'm of the mindset that we are in that, and not just now, always, but now more than ever, everything is needed. And so I don't care whether you're, peaceful protesting, or whether you're ready to take more radical action, whether you're economic revolution or political revolution or social revolution. There is very little that we don't need in our communities right now to turn this thing around. I understood that in those times, Martin was just as relevant as Malcolm, and vice versa. And you could not have one without the other. And the dynamics played in our favor because they would rather deal with Martin than deal with Malcolm. And so it's because of Malcolm's presence alone that Martin was able to actually even get a lot of the concessions that were made that, again, got us some so-called freedoms and rights that we're still fighting for in 2020. But I digress. I want to get into this show because I definitely want to bring my guest today on because this movement is actually, again, connected to a larger historical movement. And I want to really just dive into all that this is about so that again, we can just understand how we need to move and what the options are. Because I just feel like things are going to get a lot crazier as we go forward. And it may get worse before it gets better. We still have a situation where they tried to kidnap a sitting governor and do some some Taliban, Al-Qaeda stuff over here on American soil. We still understand that as of 2020, the Ku Klux Klan, which is the oldest terrorist group, has still not been labeled as such in 2020. We still understand that this pandemic is killing hundreds of thousands of people and may kill hundreds of thousands more before it ends. The West Coast is on fire right now. We've witnessed historic storms in the West, in the South, and in coastal areas. And so, it's just the signs of the time, right? And with all of that, all of this civil unrest, and what has become labeled possibly the largest black movement in the history of the U.S., Black Lives Matter. So with all of that, I'm only saying you need to find your place. And you need to understand that there is something that you are uniquely qualified to give, and there are contributions that need to be made on all sides. But I do want to just jump right in real quick to this presidential debate, and just kind of dialogue real quickly on some of the highlights as we get close to election day, because again, this is important stuff. Whether you believe in voting or not, whether you believe your vote works or not, I'm only saying do something, and I'm saying that, if you don't like what you're seeing, getting involved in changing that narrative is up to you. And if you don't get involved in changing the narrative, then don't complain about it. And so we have a lot going on the national and the local level that we need to be talking about on a daily basis. But let's just look at some of these highlights real quick, and then I'll come back and we'll have a little more of this dialogue.
Winter, a dark winter, and he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no plan.
I don't think we're going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. And I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up.
He says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was, is gone. I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Release your tax return or stop talking about corruption.
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax.
500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with.
Kristen, they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it.
We
changed.
did not.
They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who built the cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. The black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, yes, yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is there is institutional racism in America. We've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says that's the end of that.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. Your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've.
Sometimes you just don't even know where to start when you're dealing with such buffoonery. He's very entertaining, to say the least. Unfortunately, I feel like for people of color in this country, we've done far too much of trying to decide between the fox and the wolf, as Malcolm would say. We're gonna get ate up. It's just how we're gonna get eaten is the question. And we have to start being more mindful of the power we possess and making sure that before we hand that power over to anybody, that they are genuinely doing what's in the best interest of our communities and our people. Joe Biden, of course, has a checkered past. He was instrumental in the crime bill that swept through the black communities and communities of color across the United States and sent us, to prisons wholesale. Again, it's a hard conversation to have because when you look at the options, you just have to choose the lesser of two evils sometimes. But we need to be more so trying to position ourselves to have more control over those outcomes. And so, I mean, there was just so much said in this small little clip, these highlights. And I just can't for the life of me understand, just even digest. I mean, the man has said this stuff so many times that I think he actually believes it. That he's done more for black people than any president, with the exception possibly of Abraham Lincoln. And the reason why that disturbs me to my core is because I know, as you should know, that Abraham Lincoln was just as racist as all of them. And he only attempted to free the slaves, which he didn't even have a right to do because he had no power and control over the Confederates at that time. He was not their president. So he gave a null and void order to free slaves or the enslaved. And the reality is, at the end of the day, again, we freed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln said himself that he is, as much as any other white person in the world, was in favor of the position and status of white people. And if he had any other way to save the Union outside of freeing the enslaved black people, he would have done just that. So, and then we understand again that slavery was the backbone of the Southern economy. So the attempt to free the slaves was really an attempt to break the South economically. So it was all about strategy, and we were just pawns in a political chess match. So to even reference Abraham Lincoln as if he was some great savior of black people is really insulting in and of itself. And it just shows the ignorance of the racists to reference another racist as his, as credibility for him and what he has done for our communities. Again, if you're not informed, you get took fast. When you don't know, you can't do. And my problem with us as a collective is that we don't take the time to figure out what's going on and inform ourselves. And so statements like this, people get away with it. And they make us feel like they're really doing something for us. And again, the whole time you're getting hoodwinked and bamboozled and took fast. When you look at the whole history of this country and where we are now, we have to start having sober discussions. And for me, there's been way too much separation of conversation and execution. And there's a whole lot more ceremony than substance. And so, what I mean by that is just that. We do a lot of talking, and a lot of us talk really well. But it's just sad that, again, when it comes down to taking the actions necessary to move us to a different position, the actions are slow and almost sometimes none. We need a revolution on every level of our existence. Not just politically, because economics is actually where it's really at. I'm a politician only because I understand that there's a role to be played on every level. And I also understand that if we are to be effective, we have to use all of our talents in every area where those talents will be fruitful. But understand that every time we started with the politics and transitions to the economics, leaders disappeared. They were real cool with Martin as long as he was talking about just going to the poll and voting. When he started talking about redistribution of wealth and getting in their pockets, the pockets of the powerful, That's when they was like, oh no, it's crazy. Yeah, he got to go. We were cool with you want to go to the poll, but you trying to go and get in our pocket and take our money. So understand that economics, especially when we have over $1 trillion consumption habits or consumer power, and right now in 2020, only 3% of that money is floating back into the black community. Why don't we see a problem with that? Right? We integrated, but we integrated ourselves out of everything economically. So I just want us to be mindful that a lot that was said on both sides, it's a problem. Joe Biden sounds like he's willing to try to start correcting some things. And like I said, we need to just pay attention to those who claim to be in our best interest at the end of the day. I can't tell you who to vote for. I can only tell you that we need to be doing something, and whatever that is, we need to be trying to figure it out and figure it out fast. So I'm gonna take a quick break. When I come back, I'll bring on my guest, and we'll get into some real good stuff. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 1010 Politics, your political right to know. And as I told you, I had a treat for you. I actually have a whole paramilitary in the building, and I feel the safest I've felt in a long time. So I just want to say that I really appreciate the new Black Panther Party coming in the building and being willing to share and dialogue and just talk about solutions on every front when it comes to how we move and how we engage, right? So I want to say, I want to first, of course, introduce Miss Avis Brooks, Regional Captain.
That's correct.
Of the new Black Panther
Nation.
Nation.
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct.
So the correct title is New Black Panther Nation.
Correct.
Not party.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So I do know that I know a lot about which y'all do, but I actually would prefer that you kind of just give a little introduction to who you are and what the organization is
Okay.
about.
As you said, I am Avis Brooks. I am the regional captain of this district under the leadership of Minister Cornell X. And the New Black Panther Nation, we are about justice. There's not enough justice today. There are not a lot of people who are willing to stand up. We've been so used to being quiet, to speak, but they feel as though they don't have a voice. So we are the ones that will come in and fight for justice, for equality. That's what we do.
Okay.
A lot of people think that we come in, we're militant. We're not militant. It's not a lot of love today. And that's what we try to demonstrate to our people. Opposed to hating each other, we need more love in this world.
Okay. So a couple of questions. Is what you do as an organization anything similar to what the original Black Panther Party did in the 60s? And what are the similarities and what are the differences, if there are any differences?
We all are for justice. When people say the Black Panther and the nation, the whole cause is we fight for justice for our people. You know, as I can remember back with the Black Panthers, they did the same thing, they just did it in a different way. So once the nation started, as I said, we felt as though it needs to be more love, because when people see us in our uniforms, the first thing that they think is that we're coming to do some destruction. And that's not necessarily all the time. Now, I'm not saying that when we need to, but we just learned that it's a different way that we can do it now. We will try to go in and bring in the peace, and that's what we need today. Because you got so many cities and states right now. The only thing that you see when you turn on the news is burning of cities. And the first thing they're saying is that we're doing it. And it's not necessarily so that we're always doing it all the time. You see.
Right. So, in terms of programs, I understand you saying, love, but I definitely know that there's definitely, I guess you can say a militant component, right? Or a self-defense component, right?
Yes.
Which is great, and actually, again, I know I have a lot of good friends. One of my friends, my sisters, is a part of AMPU, which is kind of a black paramilitary. Right? They do security for high profile black leaders, and we protect our own. And that's necessary. And they're also licensed handgun instructors. They teach black folk how to shoot, and that you should own a firearm, especially if you can legally do so. And go through the proper channels to be a licensed handgun carrier, and know how to defend yourself and protect yourself. And so I think a lot of that is actually lacking in our communities. So how does that factor in terms of, do y'all do, because I'm trying to actually find out a little more about the core of the program, right? So for example, Black Panthers in the 60s had a 10-point program, right? And they outlined specifically what their cause was, what the mission was, and what they were trying to do in the community. It actually started out with them policing the police, and openly carrying loaded weapons, which every time they got pulled over, they read the state law showing that we have a right to do this, so they knew they weren't dealing with no dummies.
That's
right?
correct.
They knew they weren't dealing with dummies. And then it expanded into, this beautiful thing where they were offering free lunch to the kids, free clinics, like all of those beautiful things in the community. And then, of course, ultimately, dismantled by J. Edgar Hoover and FBI, who labeled them the greatest threat on American soil. Oh, yes. yes. So, what's, in terms of the new Black Panther Party, the new Black Panther Nation, is in place in terms of that kind of dynamic, right?
We still do the same thing, quite naturally. If we can feed the homeless, if we can educate our youth, we do the same thing. It's just we have a different style in which we do it. I feel that as long as we are servicing our people, that's the most important thing. And that's why I like the Nation show, because I'm a people's person. A lot of times we get away from people. We want to be self. So in the Nation, we are a family. We are one big happy family with an outer family, and the outer family is our people, the ones who cannot speak for themselves. So, any type of area where we see that we can help, like I say, the homeless, if we can feed, if we can provide any type of services, that's what we want to do, because these are the things that we are liking. We don't supposed to have the necessities. They don't want us to have the necessities. So as a community, we should be able to assist one another. We should be able to love one another. And so that's what we try to do.
Okay. So I guess the main focus is black love, trying to get to love one another.
Black love.
And stop all of the internal strife.
Unity. Unity and equality.
I love it. Because again, it's really not any different again than what they did back then, either, honestly. I can actually still remember a speech by Stokely Carmichael, a.k.a. Kwame Ture, And a lot of people don't even realize that the Black Panther Party itself actually got their name from him, right? Him and H. Rap Brown, when they started, getting, more militant and kind of steering from Dr. King's philosophy. Kwame Ture actually started the Black Panther Party, right? He coined that name.
You're very knowledgeable.
And when Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale came on, along, they actually asked him not only could they use the name, but also would he join? And eventually, of course, he didn't join, but he let them, take the name and run with it. And first it was Black Panther Party for self-defense, which later just was short to the Black Panther Party. But again, a little history lesson. But I remember a speech he gave, and he kept saying that, that unity was the focus, right? That we can't beat the enemy and we're fighting each other. We don't have enough resources, enough energy to be fighting internally and still be able to defeat this juggernaut of an enemy that we have to face every day. And he said, so there will be no fighting among us.
That's right.
And he emphasized that throughout his whole speech, which was very powerful. Just the repetition of it actually made it powerful. So again, it's to me it's a lot of the same dynamic that I see with you right now, and I'm just trying to figure out overall. Do you think that? I mean, so what do you think is needed in terms of, so for example, police brutality? We know that's very real right now, right? Is there any similar programs in place that address what's going on in that area of the Black community?
Every time that we try to develop something to help ourselves, they always come in and try to figure out another way to do it. See, the thing is, they don't want us to help each other. It's destroy and conquer.
Right.
You see, so as long as we are doing that, no, they don't want us to stop killing one another. Now, is it a system that they're trying to put in place? They always want to take credit for it. So that's why we have to be united and develop something that we can stand for ourselves. Because if we wait for them to do it, it's still going to be orchestrated.
Right.
It's not going to be for our purpose. They're going to still be saying that we're killing each other, and they're trying to come in, and then they'll try to figure out a way. They don't want us to come in and say, okay, we are doing something for our people. We still supposed to be fighting each other. We can't help each other. They don't want us to do that.
So what do you say about people who label the new Black Panther Nation a hate group or a terrorist group, right? What do you say to those kind of titles and labels?
Every time that someone is coming in to do something good, you always have to make them look bad. You see, so quite naturally they're going to say that we're bad because we're coming in to do something right. Well, they don't want to say, well, they're going to come in, and if someone's son just got killed, we're going to come in and we're going to seek justice. No, they don't want us to do that. So quite naturally, we're coming in and we're going to start a whole riot on the street. That's not what we're going to do. We go in and we want some questions answered. They're not going to answer the questions, or they'll tell us, well, we'll get back with you in 24 hours. And, you have a mother calling up to the police station, and it's a whole year, and they haven't even started investigating anything. So, no, we can do that. That's what we do. But they don't want us to know the truth.
Love it. I want to get into some clips that because I actually want to just kind of piggyback off of some of these clips as it relates to just the statistics of police brutality, of how often police stop us, of the conviction rate as opposed to other people that commit the exact same crimes. And just again, this institutionalized racism, which again we actually heard the former vice president and presidential candidate Joe Biden actually say last night on live TV that systematic racism is extremely, is real, right? It's a reality. We of course we knew that a long time ago,
yes,
right? But we're just hearing about that now. So when we get back from this break, I want us to kind of just talk about that reality, and then let's talk about some solutions about how do we address that reality. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to TNT and Politics, your political right to know. Again, I'm sitting here with a very powerful sister, Sister Avis Brooks, regional captain this region for the new Black Panther Nation. I want to make sure I say that right.
Correct.
And she follows in a long line of powerful sisters. Again, a lot of, you might not know, again, a little history lesson. In fact, this is the month that the Black Panther Party was actually established, right? October 66. And it was actually sparked because of Malcolm's assassination. That's actually what sparked the Black Panthers to even start in October 1966. And a lot of times we only see the men of the movement, right? Your Bobby Seals and your Elridge Cleavers and and Huey P. Newton, of course. And we often forget that there was some extremely powerful women, right? That actually carried the movement in some ways more than the men did, right? And so Kathleen Cleaver, Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, right? I love that woman. And so when I see powerful sisters in these roles, it's just a reminder again that that we're beautiful when we do it together.
Yes.
And when we're not afraid to let egos get in the way of who's just most qualified to lead. And I will follow a sister, like the Nzingas and the Asante Waz and the warrior queens back in Africa that led great wars and fought at the head of their armies to defeat European and colonialism and enslavement, etc. So again, it's a beautiful thing to see a sister standing strong and leading in that way. Wanted to jump back into to the discussion because I really want people to understand again just what the options are and what's out there. And I would love, because this actually came off of another conversation we had last week called Two Americas. Well, we just kind of highlighted that there's always been a disparity and there's always been a difference in how the communities of color see the world and the white majority. And only now does it seem like our story is actually being told in such a way that we are somewhat controlling the narrative and we actually have people's ear and the world is kind of listening, And so I wanted to really, you being on here allows for people to understand, not again to see, strong presence, but to see organization and to also start understanding that there are options for getting involved, and being able to, and doing more. And so I wanted to make sure that we had that conversation and added some substance to that, to that dialogue. On the political front, since this is a politics show, what actions and activities are you currently engaged in as an organization in terms of the politics, voting and political education and literacy or whatever the case may be? What do you have going on?
It's very important that we vote. All I hear today is our votes matter, and we have to understand that because the lesser that we vote, the lesser we vote, the more they'll be able to win. And I'm saying this to say is they want us to be afraid to vote because if we vote, we'll have the opportunity to choose who we want to vote for. And that's still not the strategy of their plan. And us not knowing to vote makes it much better for them because I know a lot, for years, everybody couldn't vote. But this term, they made it where even inmates could vote. And that's a blessing. Because they say once you do a crime, you don't have the right to vote.
Right.
And a lot of the polls, they were even not allowing the seniors to come. And the seniors really is a big part of our voices. But this term, it seems as though they were even trying to keep the seniors away from it. So to me, because we are more educated and we know now that our vote counts, a lot more people, a lot of blacks are turning out to the polls to vote. And I think that's much better opposed to last year.
Right.
Because it's very important that we vote. Because,
Right.
as they say, if you don't vote, you need to be quiet.
I agree. I agree.
So,
I agree.
A lot of people today, they want to have choices.
Right.
They want to be a part of the choice.
Right.
Because they know it's that time now that we all vote.
I agree. So specifically, what is the organization doing to encourage Black people to get out and cast a vote?
We're speaking to them and letting them know that it's important to vote.
Okay.
It's important. If we could every day in our life go to each poll, I know I would, and just make sure that everybody would vote, that would be my job. I wish I could get on the phone and call everybody and say, remember to vote. But that's still a part of our job as well.
Right.
So as much as we can educate not only the seniors, but the youth, the young people, the people that are of age today to vote. See, that's where we were lacking sometime, because our youth, the ones that were able to vote, was not voting.
Right.
And a lot of college students, they turn out this term to vote, because a lot of the universities had a place where on the campus where they could vote. So it's, not only are we educating, I'm finding that the universities as well
Right.
are insisting that the students vote as well.
Okay. I'm gonna say what I would like to see personally. Just like you have these strong presence right here, the security detail that I mean, again, make me feel safe right now. I would love to see more of you all at the polls,
Mm-hmm.
standing guard in such a way that makes people of color feel safer in the midst of all of this voter intimidation stuff that's going on, right? When you have law enforcement boldly walking around in uniform with a Trump mask on, going to cast a ballot, as if they don't understand that not only how unethical it is, but how intimidating, deliberately intimidating it is when you're walking into a voting place and you are letting it be known. I'm the one that might pull you over tomorrow, and you know where I stand. And so how comfortable would I feel actually going? If that's why I'm standing by them, and they can probably and they may know who I'm leaning towards in terms of my vote. There are so many things being put in place to discourage the vote, to intimidate us, and to keep us from the polls, just like they did in the past, right? And so, if I could see a stronger presence of our security, right, our paramilitaries, our defense, our bodies and organizations that are saying, not at this polling station, everybody coming through here, you're safe, right? This is the safe zone, and you know that you can cast your ballot and without any cares, any concerns about, what may happen.
And that's why a lot of the seniors had stopped voting, because of them being intimidated when they went to the polls. And that's what happened last year. The last election, a lot of the seniors, they were stopped when they were standing in line, telling them who they needed to vote for. And I strongly agree with you. If there were more military at each one of the polls, it would be much better. But see, the thing about it is, then they would have something to say about that. But unfortunately, we don't care. But that's a good thing for us to put in place, because we would get more votes, Black votes. And as I said, see, we have to understand that's not what they want us to do.
Right.
So they would fight us tooth and nail to try to keep us from doing that. Would we be afraid to do it? No, because I feel that we all have the right to vote. We all have a right.
No doubt.
No, we all.
I do believe that the new Black Panther Nation had more visibility when Brother Khalid Muhammad, may he rest in peace, was alive. What do you think I guess needs to be done to kind of regain some of that momentum and get more visibility. Because again, to me, you are a vital organization. I believe that everything is needed, and I believe that the role that you play is an important role.
Mm-hmm.
How do we gain the kind of visibility that allows for membership to go up, that allows for people to consider this organization as a serious and viable option towards social change in the communities?
You know, we ask for recruiters every day. It's just so hard because, you know, some people don't like to put on the uniforms. Some people are afraid of how they're going to be treated once they put the uniforms on. It's a lot of people want to join and they ask, well, can I join but just don't put on the uniform? But it's a part of us.
Right.
When you see us in the uniform, you know we mean business. Because without the uniform, you just think that we are just a normal person, you know, on the street, and you're not going to respect us. But every day, we're pretty much begging people to come and join. And the more that we have, the more areas that we can go in and clean up. We can go to the polls. You know, we can go to different areas. We can go to different communities and help the seniors, the ones that's being robbed, the women being raped. We can do that, but you know, if our army is not strong, we can only do what we can do. But do we want to be in the community more? Yes, we do, because the community is just, it's gotten so out of hand. You know, you can't even go to the store, a female, and feel safe getting out your car. You know, it used to be a time where we didn't have to worry about that. We didn't have to worry about going to Walmart, you know, at a reasonable time and not get robbed. You can't even go to Walmart today at 1 o'clock.
I agree.
You're gonna still get robbed. So, you know, it takes a family, it takes an organization to do what we need to do. Once somebody can't do it. Sister Captain can't put on her uniform and try to go on the corner and try to save everybody. But if I had more like-minded people, we could do a lot in this city alone. We have chapters starting from South Carolina. We have a lot of chapters starting. You know, so our organization is growing. It's just we need more people to understand what the cause is.
Right.
And you have a lot of people that's afraid.
Have you seen an uptick in membership since this whole 2020 Black Lives Matter social movement kind of explosion that's taking place?
Yes, I have. Because there are a lot of people not liking what's going on. It's a lot of people want to really do something about it. But once again, as I said, they are so afraid of what's going to happen to them, what's going to happen to their families. You know, putting on this uniform doesn't mean that we're not targets.
I agree.
That's why I have, you know, always someone with me, because me being a female, when you see me with this uniform on, you might think that you can do whatever you want to do, but that's not the case. You see, so.
Well, I'm sure you're more than capable of handling yourself.
Oh yes.
Too.
Oh yes. Oh yes. So, yeah, it's just the fact that more people need to understand what the cause is and don't be afraid to help one another. We're so afraid to even say something. Afraid that, you know, when you get pulled over, you know what happened.
Right.
You know what happened.
I'm gonna say this. In some ways, the fear is justifiable, but unacceptable.
That's right.
And what I mean by that is, a lot of us have a bit of a memory of that it wasn't too long ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? We know that the Panthers, you know, lasted roughly up until about the 80s, and they still had, you know, a few members left, even then. But they were viable and strong in the 60s and early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And we do know that at that point, once J. Edgar Hoover labeled them, right, that it was a systematic, process of straight destruction to
That's
destroy
right.
them all, right?
That's right.
Where great leaders like Fred Hampton were murdered in their sleep, right? You know, in their bed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where they constantly brought them up on trumped up charges to keep them tangled up in the courts, so they couldn't, you know, be effective in the
Lead.
community
That's right.
and lead.
That's right.
Constant shootouts with the police because they were getting ambushed left and right. And then even if they, no matter which way they came out, either dead or killing the cop before the cop killed them, they ended up like Geronimo Pratt and other brothers with trumped up charges on death row, etc. And so we kind of have, again, that historic memory that kind of justifies a bit of fear because we know what the possibilities are because of what has historically happened to us in organizations like the New Black Panther
And that's what
Nation.
people remember. That's what they remember. And it's not necessarily just that. It's not just that, you know. Yes, I can remember, but I also remember today, you know, when we go in the communities, what we do versus in Chicago. It's two different things. So if you're not educated, if the people are not educated enough, they're going to still have those memories. And so that's why it's very important that we do go in the communities and we try to explain to people what our cause is for. You know, and there's a lot of times that people, when they see us, they come up to us and they want to be a part of us. Because as I said, they are tired of, you know, their mothers, their fathers not being able to, you know, step out of their house, you know, without being beaten up and stuff. So, you know, I think as we grow stronger, it will get better. I see in the near future the organization, as I said, being worldwide again, because it's definitely growing right now, and that is daily. Daily, we have cities, you know, calling us, asking us how to become a part of the organization. So that's one good thing. Right. To know that not only in this state, you know, worldwide, people are saying that they want to do something. They want to get some of the problems solved.
I love it. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do actually is go to the last clip on the history of the Black Panthers, and so we can just kind of wrap up with that. What I want to say is, if right now you have the audience's attention, and you want them to come aboard and join, or you know, share in this cause, what would you say to, you know, to somebody who may be on the, you know, who may be curious and they say and they're like, okay, well, I need to know more. What would you say to that person?
You know, first of all, we have to get past the stigma of what we do. You know, and if you're tired of what's going on today, you know, we probably can't solve the problem, but we can be a part of the problem. And being a part of the problem, it takes more than one person. A family is not one. It's a lot of people. So the more people that we have wanting to change what's going on now, it would be better. So we need to stop being so stereotyped, stop being afraid of what someone has told us, and try to stand up for the cause. Unity. You know, I keep saying that word because it's very important that we unify, because that is the key. If we're not unified, we can be destroyed. They can come in and they can devour us, and that's the whole purpose. If we are a weak link, they don't have to worry about us. You know, the nation, they go into the side, so when we get ready to go in and do what we need to do, rob and steal and kill, well, we don't have to worry about them. They're not going to come to the city, the country's defense, because we've already divided them. So if we stay united as one and grow stronger, I think that we can go in and we can do a whole lot of more things. The things that you were asking about, you know, helping our youth. We can't leave them out, because that's our future.
Definitely.
And we have to teach them our way. They're being taught the wrong way right now. So we need to bring in youth, and we do bring in youth. So bring in our youth, because the strong men that we have, they can teach them not to wear the pants sagging, you know, because that's what they want our youth to do.
Right.
We can teach, the sisters can teach one another how to be virtuous women. You see, so that's been taken out out of the category because we got so many women that's so lost.
Right.
They're so lost. They've been beat down so. So we want to bring in as many people like that so we can build our nation, so women can be stronger, they can be better wives, that our men can be stronger men so they can be the king of the family. We don't have that now. They have them all in prison. They want them to be prison, so if they're in prison, our culture won't multiply.
No doubt.
And as long as it's lesser than us, lesser of us, that means that they don't have to worry about us growing
And getting stronger.
and getting
Right.
stronger. They don't want us to be strong. So if we get stronger and unite by coming in and being a part of a family, letting your voice be heard, we can do better.
I love it. I love it. We're going to get into this clip real quick, and when we come back, we'll wrap it up. Again, this is 1010 Politics.
In May of 1967, the Black Panther Party issued a list of 10 points which stated their beliefs and values. This list included things such as full employment, decent housing, and an end to police brutality. They also sought education for African Americans and justice within the court system. The group's ideals resonated within the black community, and their numbers expanded rapidly. By 1968, the Black Panther Party had a presence in more than 20 major American cities, including New York City, Chicago, Boston, Dallas, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. Some estimates claim that their membership numbers were as high as 10,000 at its peak in 1969. The party also boasted an influential newspaper which was read by more than 250,000 people. Its editor was Eldridge Cleaver, and he became a persuasive voice within the Black Power movement. Cleaver would eventually become the third most prominent member of the Black Panther Party, behind Newton and Seal. The Black Panther Party also started community-friendly programs, such as the Free Breakfast for Children program. They believed that they could provide for the needs of those in poverty better than the government could. It has been estimated that the Black Panther Party fed more than 20,000 children through this program during the 1968 and 1969 school year. The organization offered other services as well, including clothes distribution, classes on politics and economics, free medical care, and lessons on self-defense and first aid. They also set up an ambulance program and drug rehabilitation services. However, the Federal Bureau of Investigation did not agree with many of the organization's paramilitary activities, such as carrying loaded guns. The FBI regarded them as a black nationalist hate group, and FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover even referred to them as the greatest threat to the internal security of the country.
Welcome back to 1010 Politics. I'm your host, Edward Davis. I'm here again with Regional Captain of the new Black Panther Nation, Avis Brooks. And again, I just want to give you a little history lesson on how this thing kind of ended up here in 2020. But really quickly, I want to kind of conclude with you talking about again the founding of the new Black Panther Nation specifically, and then giving some contact information for anybody who may want to join and be a part of it. So giving out all of any way that they can reach you or who's ever over recruiting, to get them to come aboard and play a part.
Okay, now we do have a site. We have a Facebook page that you can go on, and there is also contact information on there as well. It's the New Black Panther Nation on Facebook, and our Gmail is the same, newblackpanthernation.gmail.com. So if you want to get involved in the community, You can reach us at either website. We have the Facebook website, and we have our own headquarters website.
Is that the okay. You want to bring her on real quick? Could you come in real quick and just stand right here, ma'am? How are you? And you are?
Hi, I'm Sister Kay. I am the secretary for the new Black Panther Nation.
And you had some announcements that you want to make to add to?
Yes. So we have a lot of things in play for the homeless outreach. We have we're giving away food plates to families in needs. We're giving out food and masks and blankets to the homeless. This is in October and November.
Okay.
December we'll be giving out fruits and nuts and socks and candy canes, and just bringing that spirit around and just really staying one with the people, with the community. But we do, and I want to stress that we do need more people, because we have a broader range that we need to cover, and we can't help everybody, but as we continue to gain more people, we could one day help everyone. Unity is key. We need to unify each other so that we can be able to uplift each other more and just be greater that we know how to be. So, come one, come all. We're here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Building strong sisters.
I love it. One more time, give out your contact information.
You want to
wrap up?
Yes, the contact information for the email will be newblackpanthernation@gmail.com.
It's easy to remember.
Every day, someone is checking the email. Me, I check the email. Every day, I check the email. We also have a page called New Black Panther Nation. We have Messenger that's checked every day. We have a Facebook group. We have all of that. Contact us through email. From there, someone will give you a call within 24 to 48 hours.
And there you have it. I really appreciate the input.
Secretary.
I really appreciate, Sister Secretary and Sister Captain, everybody coming through and making this a great show. I'm glad that we were able to highlight what's going on with the new Black Panther Nation.
Yes.
And hopefully that will make your membership go up even more, right?
Thank you.
But
Thank
again,
you.
in these trying times, again, like I said, we need all of that. Again, this was 1010 Politics. I'm your host, Edward J. Davis. I hope that you got something from this show. Now get out and do something.